Hello and welcome to the Global Dynasty YouTube channel. BMF Season 2 Episode 7 was probably by far the best episode of this season, and we need to dive in. There are a lot of moving parts. There were a lot of points in this episode that show the transition of BMF becoming young bosses. This is what we've been waiting for, people. Let's get into it. The opening scene starts out right where we left off from the previous episode, with B. Mickey getting kidnapped and thrown into the trunk. We find out that Detective Brian is indeed behind the kidnapping, and he demands to know what happened to the drugs that were meant to set up Meech. The detective also threatens B. Mickey and lets him know that he's sending his mother back to the old nursing home that she was at, and he's going to draw him up on murder charges for Kato, J-Mo, and B. Mickey's unborn child. The detective is ruthless. Like, we always knew he had it in him, but he's not playing. The next scene transitions to Saki's funeral, and you have BMF members wondering where B. Mickey is and why he's a no-show. Meech, of course, diverts the conversation back to Saki's funeral and how everybody showed up for him, which leads me to believe that he's keeping quiet about B. Mickey working with the cops to try to set him up. But of course, Terry knows about the setup, and he's trying to let him know that at this point in time, B. Mickey is dangerous, not only because he killed Kato, but he also knows where the bodies are buried. Meech justifies his actions because he came clean and told him about it. But Terry wants to protect what they have and sees it as a threat, and B. Mickey is not someone that can be trusted, and we all know that. But Meech, for some reason, he has his attention elsewhere, and he says that they have bigger fish to fry, such as Lamar. And not only is he going after Lamar, but he's trying to go behind K9's back to the Colombians directly so that they can be his connection without K9. I personally think that Meech sometimes is very reckless in his thoughts, and he should just listen to his younger brother. Terry is a thinker, and he thinks about the situation and how it could play out and different dangers that could come across for anything. But he's someone that just acts in the moment, and throughout this entire episode you kind of see them go back and forth in their thoughts, and it's almost like a power struggle. Detectives Dumb and Dumber, Brian and Jill, have one day to find the drugs and get them back to evidence, or else they're caught. And honestly, they should have never taken the drugs in the first place. Like, I knew that Detective Brian is very impulsive, and she's just following behind him because she's stigmatized. Wake up, boo. But Detective Brian has other plans, and he actually shows up to Saki's funeral. And this is where Meech and him have a face-to-face. And Meech pretty much indirectly lets him know that he knows that B. Mickey is his informant, and he doesn't care. Like, he's still going to do what he has to do on the streets. And the preacher kind of shuts it down, and then of course Detective Bryant leaves. I think that they're really trying to expand on Snoop's part, and no disrespect to Snoop or any of the other celebrity appearances throughout the season and upcoming seasons, but I don't want this to be a show that gets drowned out by different appearances from celebrities, because it's not needed. The storyline itself is good enough and can survive on the cast that they already have without bringing all these celebrities in. It kind of reminds me of Empire. Empire had a great storyline in the beginning, but then you just had all these celebrity appearances from everyone, and then that's what the show is about. Who's going to be on the show next? And it's like, no, let's just stick to the storyline, in my opinion. The next scene shows Charles sulking about Terry cashing out and getting out of the car service business, all while Lucille is getting ready for work. Do you think that she wants to hear you complain about losing a job while she's getting ready to go to work? Charles, get yourself together. He always gives me bad vibes because he just doesn't understand anything, and he always comes down on his boys. And I get it, you don't want them doing illegal activities, but I'll tell you one thing, Meech and Terry's pockets stay full. I cannot say the same for Charles. So I do notice that as Lucille is getting ready, she lets Charles know that she won't be coming home immediately after work because she has some type of sister circle meeting. And so that's when Charles kind of exerts himself and says that he has a late night shift to pull. But I guess we'll see what that late night shift is. Y'all, at this point, the detectives are out and they're down bad. They're trying to figure out how they're going to go about turning these drugs in the next day. And they have to be returned to the evidence room. Like, they cannot just not show up without those drugs. So, Detective Bryant comes up with an idea to get synthetic drugs, which would be 2 kilos worth, which means they have to pay for it. And she agrees to it. And I'll tell you what, I don't understand. Because ain't no way. Like, you've already seen how Detective Bryant maneuvers in the streets and how he is as a person. What makes you think that he has your best interests at heart? When push comes to shove, if you guys get caught, he'll be the first to sail you down the river. I think he will. I think it's going to happen. And you are about to lose your job, Dr. Jill. You're not a doctor, you're a detective, but you're about to lose your job. Meech shows up to Monique's house, and at this point, she wants to know what they're going to do about Lamar, especially with him just showing up randomly. She's wanting to protect her daughter at any cost, and she wants to know what the game plan is. And Meech kind of just lets her know, like, that's not something that he's worried about at this time. But you could tell she just has that look in her eye that he may not handle it, but she has something in mind to handle it. So this is definitely a we'll see moment. Now here's where it starts getting real juicy. Meech is trying to convince K9's cousin to turn on him. The same K9 that he seen shot somebody in broad daylight over a basketball game. He is trying to set this man up. Again, Meech is impulsive too. He does things without actually thinking it through. I think this is a bad idea, especially with Raisin being K9's cousin. At any point, he could just be like, this was all Meech's idea. I had nothing to do with this. I just wanted to bring it to you. And then boom, Meech is dead. And I don't think he really thought that through. And Terry thinks that it's a bad move, but Meech doesn't want to hear that. And then they're also discussing when they go to St. Martin to meet with the Colombians. And Terry thinks it would be a good idea for them to take protection and bring their weapons. But for some reason, Meech wants to establish some type of trust and loyalty with them, and he doesn't want to go with weapons. But I don't see anything wrong with it. If you're protecting yourself, you're in a new territory, why not bring weapons? And this would be another one of those situations where you can see the power struggle between the brothers happening, where you have Terry, a logical thinker, thinking things through, and Meech being impulsive in his thoughts and his actions. Lamar actually ends up showing up to Monique's house, and she tells him that he really is the father of her child. Now, for those of you that don't remember, on the first season, Monique had a relationship with Lamar, and she had a child, and he cared for the child, and she ended up telling him, like, this is not your child. So now she's going back and doubling down on that, saying, well, you know what, I lied, this actually is your child, which we all know that it really isn't his child. But this is her coming up with her own personal plan, I guess, to take him out and to kill him. And I think this is a situation where she should have waited on Meech. And as he said, this is not something that he's primarily focused on. She should have just stuck with that. So with her opening this new can of worms, we're going to see Lamar around her more. And I think that she's trying to take advantage of the fact that she has a control over Lamar because he's in love with her, so she can get him to do anything that she wants him to do, even if that means trying to set him up. So I guess this is her formulating the plan, but I say this is a dangerous move on Monique. Lawanda, stand up. You are weak in the knees, girl. She might be crazy, you guys. So Lawanda went to go see a psychic with her mother, and she finds out from the psychic that she's pregnant, supposedly, and that everything may not be what it seems with Terry. And so, of course, she brings that back to Terry, and he's not really feeling that. And he lets her know, you know, it's not what I really want. And so you could tell he's frustrated from the situation. And then her mother is getting into it like, babies are good. You don't want a baby. But we now know at this point in time, Terry's feelings are with Markeisha. And so that's why he feels so strongly against having another baby with his baby mother. It's almost like it would be another trap for him. Of course, he's going to fulfill his obligations to his child and making sure they're taken care of. But I don't think he really wants anything else to do with LaWanda. But I don't see why LaWanda didn't sense that. You teamed up with his mother to get him to try and do something else that you wanted him to do, not something he necessarily wanted to pursue. So at the end of the day, I guess we could say LaWanda kind of brought this on herself, because it didn't take a rocket science to see that Terry wasn't feeling her anymore. I'm just saying. Charles has lost his everlasting mind. He had the nerve to take his side piece out in public to a strip club. The nerve. Well, his karma came served quickly, because Meech was definitely in the building and he saw his sorry daddy with another woman that was not his mother getting a lap dance. And Charles, he felt real guilty and ran out of the strip club and left his side piece there. So we'll see how that plays out. I wonder if the side piece will want anything else to do with Charles. And now that Meech knows, Meech kind of has some leverage over his father. So this should be interesting. So the day comes and Meech and Terry are getting ready to board the plane for St. Martin. And Terry drops the bomb and lets Meech know straight up, I paid to have the weapons bypassed on the plane. So they will be traveling to St. Martin with weapons. Of course, Meech is upset because that's not what he had in mind. But I like Terry's move. It was a move where he's showing Meech that you may be the old brother, but I'm going to do what I want regardless, because I'm in this business as well. This is not always about you. So I say we can give Terry this round on that one. So they both go and they meet up with the Colombians, and for some reason they end up drugging Meech and taking the weapons that they had with him. So I'm interested to see how this whole meeting with the Colombians is going to play out. Well, BMF is playing dirty, but the detectives are playing dirtier. Detective Brian and Jill showed up to LaWanda's house, and they show her pictures of Terry getting it on with Markeisha. So y'all remember just on the last episode how Terry went to the hotel room and they were staking out and they was taking those pictures. Well, they finally, put those pictures to use and they have given them to her. And it's a plan for her to cooperate with them so that they can take down Meech. And they're in there telling her all of this stuff and how she could be seen as an accomplice. And she's starting to get scared because she's not trying to get caught up in that life. And now that she has these pictures showing that Terry's mind is elsewhere and he does not want to be with her, I think she's going to fold. I really do think that she's going to fold. This is the same woman that went the lengths of getting a psychic to tell her about her life. Is she going to fold? She's not holding him down, especially when he's not really for her. So this is sad, but Terry could go down on the strength of his own baby mama. Meech and Terry get a second chance with the Colombians, and this is where they find out that Raisin had a different agenda. And they find out that Raisin was planning to kill K9 so that he can take over. And those were never Meech's intentions. His intention was to work directly with the Colombians and factor out K9, but not kill him. But they also wanted to pay his debt, because we all know that for the past couple episodes, K9 has been moving crazy. So Meech is trying to move away from that so that he can build his own empire, which we all saw coming in the first place. So Meech basically lets the Colombians know, like, look, I don't have anything to do with that. We both speak the same language, and that's money. I'm asking that you front me in order for me to pay for K9's debt and also spare his life. So Meech is trying to turn this around from what Raisin has already set up. So I guess in this situation, we can say that Terry was right again, because Terry had the intention of not going with Raisin because he didn't feel like it was a good thing to do. So again, I think Meech should start listening to Terry, but that's just me. The Colombians end up fronting Meech with 300 kilos, and that's a lot. So I think that'll be enough for them to definitely get their empire back up and running. And I'm wondering if this is when they'll go back to Atlanta now that they have read up and they have enough to re up with. Well, I can say I think this is the longest that Lamar hasn't killed anyone. This is an episode that Lamar didn't kill anyone, but I feel like his storyline is just kind of going all over the place, like with him and this dog Blackie. We really didn't need this. It didn't even really have to be in here at all. Another scene that didn't really make the recap is the detectives getting cozy. Like Detective Brian introduced Detective Jill to his son and everything, and I just don't understand why we need to see them getting cozy. Like I don't see why that is a thing. It makes it weird and uncomfortable, and we're getting off track. So yeah, maybe less of the detectives getting cozy and more of them actually trying to work the case, because I mean it is their job. Oh yeah, and of course Terry's baby mama LaWanda confronts him with the pictures, and she lets him know straight up, I'm not covering for you anymore. So this is really about to get interesting. Well, somehow, in some way, B. Mickey escaped the trunk and he went to go visit his mother at the nursing home. And he finds out at the nursing home that they've been trying to contact him for the 2 days that he was kidnapped. And he finds out that his mother is dead. So at this point, B. Mickey has nothing to lose, absolutely nothing. And I think that he's coming for Detective Bryant for sure. I don't really think that he has anything against Meech in this very moment, but it's really the detective at this time because he's the reason why he missed that notification of his mother passing away. So I think that something might happen to the detective's son, because if you all forgot, let me go ahead and jog your memories. In the beginning, Detective Bryant pretty much asked B. Mickey to protect his son in a bullying situation, so B. Mickey knows what his son looks like. He can easily see him out in the street and spot him and do something to him, and that's that. And he has nothing to hide, because at this point, with his mother passing away, he has absolutely no one. He killed Kato, found out that Kato was pregnant with his baby, so he killed his baby, and his mother is gone. So yeah, we're gonna see B. Mickey on a vengeance. I'm here for it. At this point, I'm tired of the back and forth with Marcasia that she has between Boom and Terry. Pick one at this point. Of course, she finds herself in another situation and she calls Terry to bail her out. And Terry's like coming up with an idea and trying to come up with a plan of, what she should do next. And he lets her know, I think that you would be better off with someone else. And she just kind of gives him this, you're a boy, you don't know anything, this is adult problems. Well, stop calling this boy every time you have an adult problem. Handle it yourself. If you're not going to listen to him, keep getting beat on. It's as simple as that. If you're so much of an adult, have control over your life. But you don't. So at some point, I hope that she does leave the situation with Boom. And it would be nice to see Terry with someone that's finally kind of on his caliber. I think that she should stop painting him out to be such this young boy, because Terry carries himself with so much composure to be so young. He's very smart, he's bright, he knows what he's doing, and he knows business, and he knows numbers. So he's not that much of a boy that you're dealing with him anyway. This had to be my favorite scene out of this entire episode. So K9 confronts Meech and he finds out about everything that has happened. And Meech pretty much breaks it down for him. And he tells him, your cousin Raisin tried to switch up on you. He wanted to kill you. I spared your life. I came to you as a man and let you know that I no longer want to move with you, that I want to move with your connection. I had to kill your cousin along the way, but at least you're not dead. And so you think with K9's reputation and who he is and how he's known. And, you think he's about to kill Meech, but he actually looks at him and he's like, you're a boss now. I have to look at you as a boss. And I think that's where you see the transition of BMF taking over the game. So I'm really excited for next week's episode. But let me know in the comments, what are your predictions for next week's episode along with the ending of the show? I know that we're probably a few episodes away from the season ending. How do you think it will end? Will Lamar be taken out by Monique? Will the detectives finally bust Meech? There's so much to unpack. All right. Well, thank you guys for listening. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Until next time.